now. So, Python. What is Python? Well, you remember back in the second week, we in the principles of programming session, we talked about high level and low level programming languages. Low level languages are those that are very close to the working of the machine, where you're almost talking directly to the components within your computer. Um, uh, with a high level programming language, you things are strongly abstracted, so you can write in a much more natural language kind of way. The instructions are much easier to read and write, and then basically the an interpreter will then interpret those instructions, and that will convert it into those low level instructions telling the processor exactly what it needs to do, and all that kind of stuff. So you don't need to worry about it. And Python is an example of one of those languages. Python's actually been around since the early 90s, which it seemed unusual to me when I looked this up, because you kind of think of Python as a much newer thing than that, but it's not. It has been around for a long time, but really the last 15 years is where it started its sort of meteoric rise, really. And it really has risen to prominence. It's now the most widely used programming language in the world, largely, I think, down to its scientific computing capabilities, which and its suitability for data science, which is why you're all here as well. Now, a really important feature of Python is its extensibility. And what that means, as we saw a little glimpse of that when we talked about packages last week, you can bring in code that other people have written to kind of extend that core Python functionality. And that's a really important feature of Python, and means you can do things like, I can teach you how to use neural networks. You don't need to understand the mathematics of neural networks so that you can code what a neural network is. Somebody's already done that for you, and that makes everything much more accessible. Python has also got a really neat feature where you can get very quick results, and you can build iteratively. So we talked a little bit about the interactive Python console last week, and you got a little chance to play around with that. That's basically where you can run a program and then say, okay, well, the program stopped running now, but it still remembered all my variables, and I can interact with it as though the program is still running via the console, and it allows you to test little things. It's really good for scientific computing purposes, and that's primarily the reason I used it for my PhD.